Hello lovely people, it's Candy here. Welcome back to my channel. Happy New Year to everybody. Today I wanted to do a VR that I've been trying to get to in amongst all the Christmas mayhem and the New Year mayhem. It's the tag by the gorgeous Mascha over at Musings by Mascha, and it's the tag for my favourites in Tarot 2020. I thought before I moved into the year properly, it would just be nice to take a pause and just look at the collection that I've got, which is immense now, and to just have a think about what my favourites were in my very first year of tarot. So Mascha's put together this lovely tag. There are 16, 17 categories for favourites, and here I go. The first favourite is my favourite collage deck, and if you watched my tag dating the Tarot 2020, you will have seen this deck already. It is the Muse Tarot. This was my deck that I keep going to break up with. It's my rebound deck. It's the only collage deck that I actually own, so that's why it's made it onto this tag too. But after I did that video, I kept the deck out for a little bit, and I'm so glad that we didn't ever end up breaking up, because I do really love this deck, and it's made me want to work with it even more in 2021. So that was my winner for my favourite collage deck, the Muse Tarot by Chris Ann. Number 2 is my favourite pocket or travel tarot. Now this is so my favourite, I had to put on rainy weather boots and go out to the car, because it's actually in the car because I take it with me everywhere. And that's the Barbara Walker Tarot in a tin. Now this was in the car because I study this while I'm waiting at school pickup, so it's always in the car. But I love it. Those are the backs. I love its witchy vibe. I love its take on the cards. I love its link to myth and story. That's probably the most unfortunate card that was ever made, and I'm saying no more about it. I just love it. It is a really interesting, what's the word for it? I think it's just its witchy vibe. I love it. It has a real essence about it that is the same essence that gives you tingles down your back. So that is the Barbara Walker Tarot in a tin for my favourite travel tarot. Okay, my most beautiful tarot. Oh, I couldn't really, I didn't know what to pick for this one, but I just think all my decks are beautiful. But in the end, I had to go with my birthday present to myself, which was the Luminous Void Tarot. The Luminous Void Tarot, because look at those backs, look at the shapes, oh, just look at the artwork. I mean, how could you not choose this? I love its really soft watercolour style. I love that the images are sometimes barely there. I mean, look at this Queen of Wands. I love all the crowns in them. I just think this is really beautiful deck. So that is my most beautiful tarot deck, the splendid Luminous Void Tarot. Okay, the next deck is number 4, which is my most unique stand on its own tarot. This, it has to be the glorious Dreams of Gaia Tarot, which I love. This has been next to my bed for a lot of the year because I look through it at night. I was trying to work with it to kind of get my dream magic going, and to work with dreaming, because I realised that I haven't been remembering my dreams anymore. only the dreams when my dad comes to me. They're the only dreams, and they're crystal clear. And every other night, nothing, just no remembrance at all. So I started to work with this. I had a couple of successes with this. But yeah, my dream magic is changing. So I will be talking about that later. But this is a standalone system. The artwork is just delicious. I love Raven Forlan's work. I have her oracle as well. I just think she's fantastic. I still don't understand the system. This is going to be one of my deep dives for this year. But without a shadow of a doubt, this is my favourite standalone unique system, The Dreams of Gaia by Raven Forlan. Oh, and those are the backs. Number 5 is my favourite nature-based or animal tarot. And for this, it could only be Phyllis Curot's Witch's Wisdom Tarot, which came to me towards the end of the year. Those are the backs. It could have been for the last position because it does change the system. Of course, anybody who's got this deck knows that the order of the majors are reversed, which for me just takes tarot into a completely new dimension that makes more sense to me. I love it. It's very nature-based and animal-based in, well, all the way throughout, but the minors are animal-based or nature-based. And it's just a spectacularly wonderful deck that I am so grateful that I own in my collection. So that's the Witch's Wisdom Tarot by Phyllis Curot. Okay, the next position is my favourite RWS. I only have 2. This needs an honourable mention because this is the deck that my dad's voice comes to me in. My dogs are coming in and out. You're going to have to ignore the noise in the background. So that was the first RWS I got, but then I scored this online for under £10, and that was with 2 decks. It was with another deck. It's pre-trimmed, pre-edged, and this is it's got these backs. All you RWS people will be yelling at the screen as to what version this is. It didn't come in the box. It's completely gone. Anyway, this, out of the 2, apart from the fact that the other one is treasured because my dad's voice comes to me in it, if we're just purely looking at the deck itself, I prefer the vibrant colours of this one. I prefer the clarity of the printing in this one. I prefer the fact that this one is already trimmed because I'm too scared to trim decks. I love the fact it's edged in dark blue. I love the fact it came with its own little crochet bag. I love the fact that it was just a few pounds. It is driving me mad what this version is. No, it's not going to come to me. Yeah, so this one is my favourite RWS version. I will put the name up on screen somewhere here when I'm editing because it's completely left me. Okay, Favourite Whimsical Tarot. Favourite Whimsical Tarot is the Tarot del Fuego. Give me eyeballs all the way. Mexican art. Bright colours. Ink work. Caves with eyeballs. More eyeballs. Eyeballs on the back. I love it. Creatures, but you can see their insides. Floating castles with eyeballs. Seriously, what's not to love about this deck? I just love it. Queens with many sets of eyeballs. Tattooed people. Oh, it's really awesome, this deck. It is my sense of humour. I mean, look at that for strength. A little girl in pink ripping open an eyeball dragon's sea creature's mouth. You gotta love it. The star pouring water out of her fish arms. Just so good. The Queen of Swords fighting off the demons. And where is that favourite ace? I can't find it. Found it. My favourite ace card ever, the Ace of Cups. When I've watched a walkthrough of this deck, the minute this card came on screen, I immediately clicked off the walkthrough straight onto buying this deck. Oh my goodness, I love that card so much. So that is my favourite whimsical, fantastic tarot deck. The Tarot del Fuego by Ricardo Cavallo. My Brummy accent is not designed for words like Del Fuego. Favourite Marseille deck is next. Again, I only have two. But I think the latest one that I bought, which is squidged into a tiny little bag because it comes in a tuck box and it was already beginning to fall apart, is my Spanish tarot. And those are the backs. I did do a walkthrough of this in my Meeting the Marseille video. I do love this deck. I love the colours. I love the ink lines on it. I think it's the colours really that attracted me the most to this deck. I'd looked at a few Marseille decks and I'd weighed up the options, and having done that, this was the one that I decided I wanted, and it wasn't that expensive, so that was a result. Oh my goodness, I literally look like I've walked out of this deck. What the? Hello. I like your skirt. I like your top too. I literally look like I've just emerged from the deck. So I actually live in the Spanish tarot. It is my wardrobe. It is my sense of style. I am actually the missing card from the deck today. Who knew? That's my favourite Marseille, the Spanish tarot. Oh, and Mascha, who is much more knowledgeable about Marseille than this newbie who knows nothing, asked for type 1 or type 2. What's type 1 and type 2? I think, has it got something to do with the face in death or the devil? Not sure. That's my favourite Marseille. Let's just say it covers both options. Okay, next one. Glossing over my lack of knowledge. A favourite tarot in a hobby or a culture that I love. Okay, now anybody who watched my art video knows that I started my art life, which is my biggest passion, in textiles. So of course I am going to go for the Enchanted Tarot. Is it the Enchanted Tarot? I love it so much I can't remember what it's called. It's that one, the Enchanted Tarot. There are forests of enchantment, the Tarot of Enchantment. I always forget this is the Enchanted Tarot. And this is textile work. It's work using embroidery. It's work, I suppose this could have been for collage as well, because there's collage work in it. But a lot of the work uses photographs of materials and lace and sewing and quilt work and applique. And I love it. I would like the smaller version as well, because you need quite a hefty table. You can see how big these cards are to put a spread out in this. But it is lovely. There's tons and tons of imagery and symbolism in there if you're an intuitive reader. It's just a lovely deck. Look at that moon card. Look how pretty that is. Are these focusing? Okay, position number 11 is my favourite tarot in a story. Well, in 2020, one of my favourite reads was this series of books, the Raven Boys books by Maggie Stiefvater. Another word that shouldn't be said by somebody with a Brummie accent, but there you go, what can you do? Absolutely fantastic series of 4 books, young adult fiction, which I'm about to do a video about, and they are linked to the Raven's Prophecy tarot deck, which is my favourite tarot deck linked to story. I'm not going to open this and look through the cards because I want to do a video where I react for the first time to the deck after I've read the books to see if it's changed my reactions to the cards. But I love this deck. I didn't think I'd love it so much, but I do. And the books were fantastic. Right, the next question was favourite cardstock. No competition with this. And this also could have been a deck that would have fitted with the last question about a favourite deck linked to story, because this is the Literary Witches Oracle, which when I first got I wasn't sure about. It's an odd little beast, this one, but the cardstock, oh, it's that linen-y feel to it. Let me see, you might be able to see it better on a darker card. Can you see the texture? And it is glorious to shuffle. The backs are beautiful. It did come with a slight bend in it, but you know, I can forgive it that. And I have got a collection of novels now by some of these authors that are unread, which I want to read this coming year. I also want to do a deep dive again with this deck. Having originally thought, well, I'm not sure how to use this deck, I just began pulling cards with it and trying to see if I wanted to keep it, because I wasn't even sure I wanted to keep it at first. And the more I worked with it, the more it just connected to my soul, and a strange connection formed between us. I can't describe it. I think it's probably the only deck that I've got that feels like it wrapped itself around my being and said, you're mine. This milk card, pulling it out, you'd think, well, how do I use that? But this came out loads for me, and it started to take on meanings and whisper things in my mind. And the cardstock is yummy. So that is a favourite on lots and lots of levels, but definitely for cardstock. Okay, favourite modern deck is the next one. Favourite modern tarot. This one has got to be my Raincoast Pocket Tarot by Christoph James, the lovely Christoph James, who offered this deck, I've said this story loads of times, who offered this deck up on my Facebook to the first person who could guess the number of the deck, because he numbers them all. And I thought, oh, I'll just guess my age. So I said 52 or 51. How old am I? It might have been 51. Oh my gosh, you know you're getting old when you have to look through the cards of a tarot deck to work out how old you are. It was 51, because it was last year I won this, and I said 51, and he said, well done, you've won the deck, and he posted it to me, and it just blew me away. His generosity, his kindness, and also how blinking gorgeous this deck is. And then as I flicked through, there were swans, there were ravens, there were octopuses in there, my 3 animal energies that I've worked with in my life that mean such a lot to me. And this deck began to take on a language all of its own. I call it my soul language with this deck. I don't necessarily read this deck as traditional meanings. I do, but I layer on an entire story and world of meaning of my own, because it does speak to me so profoundly on a personal life history level. For me, it kind of mirrors my inner landscape of the last 52 years. So this, without doubt, is my favourite modern tarot, Christoph James Raincoast Tarot. Okay, my favourite art tarot is the next one. I am going to go for my first ever deck ever bought, before I knew a single fact about tarot, my Wild Unknown Tarot by Kim Kranz. And for Christmas I bought myself her journal, Blossom and Bones, which I have just started reading, and it is literally ripping my soul out. Kim Kranz, her work mirrors mine, and not only visually, but her life story, her life path, her falling into disordered eating after divorce. It's all there, everything is there, and I am really grateful for this artwork. This was my doorway into tarot. This was my first ever deck. It will always have the most precious place in my collection, and I just love it. Kim Kranz, The Wild Unknown. Forget about the hype around it. For me, there was no hype involved. It's just really personal and beautiful. Now, my favourite vintage tarot, having said that was my first ever deck, no, this was my first ever deck decades ago, when a friend gave me this deck, said, I think you might like it. I looked at it and thought, what on earth is that? Started chopping up all the cards for my artwork because I didn't know what it was, and it freaked me out a little bit, if I'm honest. Fast forward a few decades and I'm now obsessed and in love with tarot, and this memory of what I did to this deck of cards eons ago creeps into my mind and fills me with shame, which sent me onto a 2020 quest to re-find the deck, which I couldn't even remember what it was called. I could just remember this strange box with this book attached, and I could remember the images were quite bizarre. And I found it on eBay and reordered it for my birthday. It was only a few pounds, and then I spent a few weeks really deep diving with the book, and it got me into angels. It opened up the doorway to angel energy for me, and just its psychedelic disco vibe. Just, there's something in it that attracts me, and again I look like I've literally just fallen out of this card. I wonder why it speaks to me so much. Who knows? Anyway, I was showing the kids this deck, saying, look at this, isn't it spectacular? Isn't it crazy? Isn't it wacky? Isn't it kitsch? Doesn't it remind you of disco dancing? Isn't it wonderful? And my middle daughter, Poppy, said, Mom, you still got it. You haven't got the cards, but you still got the book, which I thought I'd thrown out decades ago. Oh no, she'd found it in my art supplies and had turned it into a Harry Potter little book of monsters. So there it is with its tongue. So yeah, a special place. How can you beat that for vintage? You can't. And then question number 16 is my favourite deck of the year. Mascha, how could you do this to me? I can't do it. I just can't do it. My first sold deck, Tarot of the Sweet Twilight. How could I not pick this one? How could I not? Look at it. Look at it. It's just, look at the colours. It's spectacular. It's awesome. I can't leave that one out. But then, how do I leave out this gift that I got sent from a subscriber from Holly for my birthday, the Light Seers, which is also edged and equally beautiful. How do I leave this out? How do I not pick this as my favourite deck? Look at it. Look at it. It just can't be left out as my favourite deck. That's my favourite deck too. But then how do I not include Tarot of the She by Emily Carding? How can I not include this one as my favourite deck, which has grabbed hold of my heart this year and told me to never ever live a life without tarot in it? So I couldn't, Mascha, I'm sorry, I couldn't leave any of those 3 decks out. In fact, there were probably more than 3, but these are the 3 that I think I would have been immediately struck down by lightning if I had left any of these gloriously beautiful decks out of my favourite. So that's it, guys. I think I've done all the questions. Those are my favourites for 2020, my first year in tarot. It has been spectacular. You guys have been spectacular. It's been so much fun. Mascha, I loved the tag. I've loved watching people's responses. And Happy New Year, everybody. I will see you next time. Bye.